part of this meeting we have tonight. And Board of Commissioners. With that said, are there announcements that we have, Mr. Manager, the announcements you have?
No, last weekend I'm going to be a grandpa again in November.
Congratulations. That's good news. Commissioner Haven, the announcements, Commissioner Booth.
Just a reminder, tomorrow night, the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners regional meeting will be held in Western Carolina. We will be leaving that park line up to 4:30. They will suffer at 5. Always important.
Commissioner Haven,
I heard today that the governor's budget is putting in 16, is that correct? 16 magistrates.
yes.
I think that's very important. We're sending a letter to those who are supportive of the
Commissioner Hickman, the next one, over your chest. Okay. Our moment of silence, Commissioner Bill.
Would you please stand? As we all know, this week, many in this room, many in this community, and our chairman, church family, the family lost a dear friend and a man that's very important in this community, Mr. Eddie Trullo. Reverend Eddie Trullo served this community for almost 25 years. So as we may have a moment of silence tonight, let's remember not only his immediate family, but his church family. Chairman Corbin has had a really tough few days, as a lot of us have, that knew and loved Eddie Trullo. So there's a lot of things we can be concerned with tonight, but in this community at this time, I don't think there's nothing more important than that. So let's have a moment of silence and remember his family and that church family. Thank you.
Commissioner Hickman, would you lead us in the
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please sit. Under the public hearing section, we have no public hearing tonight. Under public comment period, we do have 3 people that have signed up. We have Krista Houston. Is Krista here?
I'm stuck.
Okay.
I'm stuck.
Would you come on? I think you're going to speak about Macon County early college.
Well, there's a group of us. I'm just representing one of them.
Okay. Are you going to speak here at the public comment?
I believe Christy, I will.
Okay.
It's actually in child care.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, where we came and asked for our letter of support last month, we were just checking on the status of that. Our application is due by the 19th. I took Mr. Horton the information about what we've accomplished and all the things that we've put into place, and we were just checking on the status of that letter.
Okay.
The letter of endorsement is what she's referring to. I believe we put forward.
I think we're going to have to do a little more research on it.
And I've got, she sent me a great deal of information. I've got a packet of information about like that, and I confess I have not been all the way through that. We've been on the budget reviews, so I haven't had a chance to do that. But I can't tell you any more than what they told you last time, basically, that what we're trying to do with the early childhood program.
You know, the deadline, I understand, and I think this is a great thing, what we all do. This is just going to employ possibly up to 78 people.
Yes, sir.
Man, and you've got a deadline. You have to have this rural application, rural grant application in by April the 19th.
By April the 19th.
And you've got your support letter from the town of Franklin.
We do.
And on our letter, what does it need to, does it need to?
It can actually just mimic what the town says.
Just support the project.
Of us applying towards a rural and economic development grant. That's all it has to say.
Will the county be responsible for administering the funds of that grant?
Yes, sir.
Now, can we talk about that for a minute?
Sure.
How does that work for you? You're the big guy.
I'm sorry, I'm not exactly sure what they're applying for.
It's a rural and economic development grant. What it is we would refurbish an existing building, make it usable, which is what we would make a child care center in that building. The grant funds so much of each position as well as so much money to help refurbish the building. In creating the jobs, we get like $5,000 per job, but it goes to the county. The county is the one that oversees it and gives it to Macon Early Child Care.
So we would take care of all the construction,
Yes,
we pay the salaries.
We have everything in place.
I guess you would supply something to the county, cover that you would spend certain dollars and then we would base it on reimbursement.
Yes.
So
This would be like county.
pass-through thing. It's not costing us anything, we pass through.
It's
It's not,
costing us money to handle the money.
Yeah.
It's just costing us labor.
There may be some oversight obligations that we just need to look at.
As far as a budget obligation,
I don't know the answer to that without looking at the package.
Christie's not a matching grant, no way? It's 100% grant? I didn't know they were doing that from the state. Okay.
basically, is there anything else that you could add to that?
No, that was the only grant that we found at this time for that.
And that's through what?
It's Rural Development Center,
Through the rural center?
well, it's through the Rural Development Program. It's the Building Refurbishing Grant. I should have brought a copy of it here.
So this has nothing to do with the daycare, this is for the buildings.
This is for the building, and what it does is it helps us refurbish the building, and it gives us $450,000 to go on the renovations of the building to make it operable. Also, it gives us $5,000 per employee. We will have 78 employees. We have to have over a certain number, and we have reached that. And we have to have an extensive benefits program, which we have health care, 401k, we have everything worked on that. And so we meet, I called Molly Adams in Raleigh, and she said we more than met the criteria that was necessary for this grant.
Don't think that Molly don't write.
I know that, but,
78 employees already?
well, we have, with,
In the plan. In the plan.
You have any employees now?
Myself and like the accountant.
and we're, every day she's getting applications from Swain County, even Jackson County. People are applying for this.
I said, how many people will this employ in Macon County?
It would employ Macon County. It's
All of
just
us,
in
yeah.
Macon County. They would be, if they came to work in the center, they would be coming from other counties. It would be primarily in Macon
I
County.
think what they're asking for is our endorsement of this, to ask for this grant. And if it's going to provide a set jobs, I certainly entertain the motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to that effect.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
That's what it calls.
Motion passes unanimously. So I will write the letter, assist me in that. We'll get that letter. You'll let me know where the letter is scheduled.
Real bad. We give them 78 more.
You're not kidding. You are not kidding.
There was one other suggestion that they did need, that they needed a conference call by request, kind of like a pre, and this was withdrawal.
Let me ask a question if I might, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Is this through rural development through USDA or through the state rural economic development program?
State. I'm sorry, I do not have that with me. I'm thinking it is.
Give it to USDA.
USDA, yes.
USDA, not the USDA. State.
It's called Farmers Home now, it's USDA, and they have rural development grants and loans. Is that what it's through? Do you know?
I know it's the rural development. I am so sorry, I don't have it with me right
The
now.
only other question I have is what happens, what's the liability the county would have? If the county, if something were to happen and it go into default and get a grant, who's responsible for paying the money back? That's the only question that I would ask.
Solution of this action was that you would endorse it, but if it was going to be financial obligations, you have to look at that more closely.
We're not taking financial, that's not.
No. And we've already gone to Macon Bank and have applied for exactly what it would cost to buy the building and do the renovations and have, payroll. So, so that we could get started, pay it, and then get the money back in. Well, we're in the pre-approval process right now. And there's no reason to hold.
How much again is the grant for?
The grant is $450,000 plus $5,000 per employee. They count us as a level 2, even though right now, a tier 2, even though right now we're at 13.5% unemployment rate, which they're saying may actually change to where we would be a level 3 because it is so vital in our field.
Do you know if you get the money back, or you have to upfront the money and then get reimbursed?
We have to upfront the money and then we get and that's why we take the loan.
Does the county have to upfront the money and then get reimbursed?
No.
Who will write the checks?
Well, y'all will write the check, the county will write the checks. Yeah,
But
just
not-
for
but not
reimbursement.
from county funds.
No, this is coming out of pocket. It's a way to get us reimbursed back to help. And also,
Did you make the application?
It's
You're in the
pretty,
process.
It has to be about the 19th.
has to be about it.
So we filed for that. What's your last name, Chris?
Grady?
Okay, we'll get that letter to you.
thank you.
Thank you.
I thank you, lady, for coming in today.
And Susie Williams,
Yes, Susie Williams.
you're Susie?
Uh-huh.
Okay, gotcha. You were the other name on the list here.
Right.
The other name we have on the public comment is Mr. Billy Van Hook, and Billy's here to speak about the Park Meadows ball field.
I brought some help.
Good look.
I think some of you forgot a lot of the baseball players were, who they are. And these are the guys we talked about for the last little while. And I don't know, I hope it has the same effect on you as it does on me when you see these guys. And then if you could go out there and see where they're having practice, and what time they're having the practice, and the things that are so negative that's going on, I don't know how you can stand with us without saying you need to do what you know. I'm not going to act like I have all the answers. I know that's the way I go. But I do know for sure that we're way behind in comparison to Reagan County, in comparison to Jackson County, in comparison to Swain County. All of our surrounding counties are much, much better. They play one game a day. We have to come up with every rule we can think of just to get games in and get people home by 11 o'clock. And the salaries are up and out, it's probably every day. So with that being said, I started a few months ago, and I thought we really needed a baseball field complex. But what I have found out, I didn't even know how bad we did. It's worse than I ever dreamed. I have gotten right back in the middle of Little League, not really meaning to. But I'm back there, and in the last 3 months, I really can't believe how bad it is. If we can take money we already have, that's what I understand. I don't think it's ever been said we have to have a tax increase for this project. Money that the county has, and we can, first of all, buy the property. And secondly, the money's there to build the property. Now, I'm going to tell you this. You talk about 78 jobs. The economic impact has been forgotten for some time. I don't understand how that never gets talked about by 78 jobs. The money is in this project, whether it be there or somewhere else. Somebody's going to do this. If the county don't do it, there'll be an individual come along and they do it to make money, not to help our kids. It won't be for our kids. It'll be for kids coming from everywhere else. So the economic impact is very, very important. The McDonald's and that fast food strip right there, and every one of us that's just out there, the land that we have to sell. So don't forget that economic impact. There's 78 jobs in Preston. We got the equivalent of 78 jobs if we'll do it right. If we buy that property, which is a baby step, that is the baby step. The big step is the next step. And that's to do it all at one time and get it made, so we can make money. The baby step is the land. We need it. Wherever it is, we need the land. But we've got to move forward. If the economic impact's going to be there, we've got to do it as quickly as we can. You know, I guess when I first started this, I could see 5 commissioners voting for this, figuring out a way, because it's the right thing to do. Not to vote against it because I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't have my way, whatever. I could see 5 people taking this project and figuring out what's best for our kids. And I'm going to tell you, our kids deserve it. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank y'all, be sure to get home run.
That was all I had for public comment. Is there anybody else that wanted to speak to the board that didn't get a chance to sign? If not, we'll close the public comment period. The next item on the agenda is adjustments and approval of the agenda. Just be the balance of the agenda. Gentlemen, you have the agenda in front of you. Are there any adjustments, deletions, or additions you'd like to make to the agenda?
I did not fill out the budget. Some budget amendments. I seen it come in late.
There are 2 budget amendments.
Mr. Chairman, if we could put through the minutes from the April 4th call meeting, if you would add those to consent.
And you did send those to us by email. So from March 12th and April 4th. Okay, we'd add that under item 11A. Anything else to add or delete or change?
We also need to add, formally add, so you got 150 and 151.
Okay. If you would have, we have item 148, 149, adding part 150.
Item 150 and 150.
150 and 150. So if you would add those to your agenda, please. Anything else to add or change?
We need closed session. Okay.
Yes. You are requesting closed session. What would that be for acquisition of property? For acquisition of property and attorney-client privileges. Okay. So we will, under item 13, we will have a closed session tonight by request of Commissioner Tate for possible acquisition of property and attorney-client privilege, Mr. Attorney. Okay, anything else to add to the agenda?
I want to ask the administrator going back to it. It's going to be a presentation of archaeology study on the property.
Yes, sir. Okay.
And following that right there, are we to continue tonight on where to move forward with this project?
I think we have to, if we're not going to buy it, we have to make that decision by April 15th. Is that not correct? And this is our last meeting Friday.
Right now, we have a contract whereby we agree to purchase it. That contract has a provision in it that says if the board decides that the board not to purchase it, then they can do that, but it's got to be done and communicated to the seller. I think it's on before 15.
That is correct.
So this being our last meeting, we first make that decision.
That'd be correct. Yes. So you're not recommending change the agenda?
No, I'm just asking.
Okay.
Motion to approve the agenda changes is noted, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the agenda as changed. Do we have a second to that motion? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the agenda, signify by saying aye. Passes unanimously. All right, we have, under reports and presentations, Mr. Andrew Ballin. Glad to have him. This young man's been working on his Eagle Scout and took on a project, Vicki, this was last summer, I want to say last August, was that?
We've been working on it before that, though.
But he came in front of
He came
us
to you all in August.
in August of last year. And so we're having this back at 9th report on this project, and we're very proud to have Andrew here. So Andrew, we'll turn it over to you.
Well, I'm here to update you on how it's coming. After you guys declared the cemetery as abandoned and neglected and agreed for me to work under the county's authority, I was able to send my project off to get it approved by the neighborhood council, and they did approve that. And after that, during my Christmas break, I went to work with a crew from Sprinkle Surveying, and we surveyed the property. Lamar Sprinkle completed a survey donating his time to the project, and you guys paid for the labor cost. And so now there's an official survey of the cemetery. And on January 21st, a group of people from Western Carolina University came during Martin Luther King holiday, and we began clearing some of the brush from the cemetery. They got quite a bit done, and there was still a lot to do after that. So on February 9th, the mentor from my church, Calvary Baptist, came to the cemetery and cleared for several hours. There were 18 people, and we were able to clear the entire cemetery. And you can see actually how many graves there were. And then on March 9th, I had my actual healing project, 4 days of my church. And it was a great day, and there was a lot of people turn out to help. We cleaned all the stones with a biological cleaner. We strained them all up. We repaired some of the stones that were actually broken, and we moved some more brush back that day. And you can see some of the pictures on my board. We also got a nice bronze sign that said New Hope Cemetery. Put it up there. Miss Josephine Burgess, which is the last living member of the church of the cemetery, she's 93. She was able to actually go up there and visit the cemetery, and she was very pleased and tickled to death about how much we've done. She shared a lot of memories that she had up there when she was little, and she showed us where her father was buried. His name was Thomas Greenwood, and he was buried up there, and she had no way of getting up there until now. So that made it all worth it. And one thing I've come here to do is ask y'all guys to help once again that it doesn't grow back up, and that it will be preserved and never become neglected again. So I have a copy of the statute. And the statute pretty much says the county commissioners of the various counties are authorized to oversee all abandoned public cemeteries in their respective counties, to see that the boundaries and lines are clearly laid out, defined and marked, and take proper steps to preserve them from encroachment, and when they are hereby authorized to appropriate from the general fund of the county whatever sums may be necessary from time to time for the above purposes. The boards of county commissioners of the various counties may appoint a board of trustees not to exceed 5 in number and to serve at the will of the board, and may impose upon such trustees the duties required of the board of commissioners by the article, and such trustees may accept gifts and donations for the purposes of upkeep and beautification of such cemeteries.
So it sounds like we need to appoint a board. Jack?
If you have a public abandoned cemetery, county and state responsibility for it, we have a list of their probably some others out there. And I think it was brought this board's attention at the meeting that we go by someone else. That would be good to have an advisory board for keep up with the cemeteries and let the county know when something needs to be done about it. And so
Should that be an oversight board for all, or we do individually?
I think you could have the same board for all of them.
Yeah, most counties already have this. We're one of the few. I know some people that committed if we had one. that they
See,
would
Thomas
say-
Chapel just did
Still
one.
trying to, few finishing touches on theirs.
Yeah, that,
So,
yeah.
Well, if you, it'd be like you give the board a good point. Have people apply for that.
it's an advisory.
Yeah, that's, you'd be willing to serve on that board, Steve? Sure you will.
I don't agree with it.
Stephen, what you've done here is, like you said, just to have Miss Josephine Murphy, you can go up that graveyard worth it all. You commended Stephen, and, I appreciate it, I know everybody else.
Excellent project. Mr. Manager.
This is Steve, by the way, you can't get confused on name. Stephen is Drew's dad.
This is Andrew.
Andrew.
This is Drew.
That's Stephen, whatever you want to.
That wasn't you, Stephen, it's Andrew.
Congratulations, Steve.
So, do you need anything now?
Yes, sir.
They need to vote.
I don't think you need to vote.
Well, just,
I don't think you have it, you don't have a choice.
You have a nice lady here that's willing to serve on the board, Ms. Barbara
Barbara
McCray.
McCray would be an excellent person to serve on. She's already done a lot of history on the cemetery in Macon County.
I think according to our procedure, if we need to advertise that and let people indicate their interest.
I think you also need to identify whether you want a pure advisory board or whether you want the type of board that is referenced in the general statute that Andrew has referenced. They would have authority beyond being an advisory.
They do want.
So you need to think about which direction you want to go. Thanks, Paul. The statute referenced by Andrew specifically authorizes this board to appoint a board of trustees not to exceed 5 in number to serve at the will of this board. And these trustees are authorized to accept gifts or donations for the purpose of upkeep and beautification for the cemetery. That last little bit goes a little bit beyond pure advisory.
So they don't have the authority to spend funds and that kind of thing.
Basically, yes. They would become a group of trustees.
Let's put that on our agenda, Jack, for our May meeting. And if you have people that are interested in that, would you please have them get you to the county manager?
Give them the name.
Give them the names, and we'll appoint that board, Chester May. Is that fair?
I think that's very good. I think it gives the county manager himself an opportunity to assemble and put together a few recommendations as to that board and how it would function and what the expectations of this board would be of that board of trustees.
Andrew, tell us how to go about getting up there to see them try.
Well, you can contact me. I think,
You ain't gonna just see if you got
How many acres, dude? I can't think of it. Barely. 1.1 acres.
Anyway, thank you, Andrew, and we will take your recommendation and we will act on that. I have every belief we'll act on that at our May meeting.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Stephen and Vicky. Our next item, we have Mr. Paul Webb with TRC, who did the archaeological study at the proposed department head of recreation.
Bear with me a second.
Is this going to be on our, will this be on our screen?
I'm not sure
Yeah.
about that.
It will be.
Should be, yeah?
Yeah, if you turn it on, you should be.
You have to turn it on, right? Okay. Turn the screen.
Could you kill the lights?
My name is Paul Webb. I'm the program manager for archaeology and cultural resources for TRC Environmental Corporation in Chapel Hill and Asheville. And we've been conducting archaeological and cultural resource projects in western North Carolina for about 20 years. For the previous work here for the Airport Authority, DOT, New Power, and other clients. Also, just as an aside, I do this professionally, and it's really neat to see somebody went through doing what he's doing. Out of interest in scouting. Really neat to see. Okay. See, as you know, I think we were hired to conduct an archaeological study of the Parker Meadows property to determine if any significant archaeological sites were present and to help decide if the site could be successfully used as a recreational park in terms of the archaeology. Okay, I'm not sure. And our work began with background research into the project, into the history of the parcel and surrounding area, and we were assisted by Barbara McRae. That research identified a previously recorded 17th to 18th century Cherokee site on the property. Also, of course, documented the rich Cherokee and pioneer history of the valley. Following that research, we conducted an intensive field survey, which included excavation of 530 small shovel casts. These are 10 and 20 meter intervals, 30 to 60 feet across the property. These small casts where we screened the soil and searched for artifacts. And that shovel testing was followed by limited mechanized topsoil stripping to search for post holes, trash pits, grave shafts, or similar features. And what we're trying to do there is by finding the artifacts, we're trying to find the locations, of the sites. The artifacts themselves are not necessarily the main things, but they're indicators of what can be under the ground. And this work did identify 4 archaeological sites on the property, including this one along the creek there, 42. You can see that was previously known, as well as 2 other finds of artifacts. All of these sites primarily represent Cherokee occupations dating from the 1600s and 1700s, possibly into the early 1800s. And the topsoil stripping did determine that all 4 of these sites contain post holes or pit features of some type, such as these pits you see here. And thus are the type of sites that likely contain buildings, contain structures, and other important features. These are examples of the pit features we found. These are basically storage pits that were later filled in with refuse and ash there on the right-hand corner. Also recovered several hundred artifacts. These are just some small examples of Cherokee pottery from the site. So based on these results, all 4 of these sites do appear significant. They do appear to be eligible for the National Register of Historic Places. So in terms of preservation legislation, they require consideration if you're going forward with this development. Now, this is not a particularly unusual finding for this part of western North Carolina, as you who live here probably know as well as I do. And the pit that we saw in the background research, as well as the results of the previous work in this area and elsewhere. Now, we're actually very fortunate, however, in the locations of these 4 sites and where they are located in terms of the development plan. This is a little busy here, but the sites are in red, and then this is a development map that I'm sure you've seen before. As you can see, this largest site, which is really at the sort of upper left, is almost totally within the creek floodway and is outside of the proposed development area. I think there's plans for a walking trail there, not be an impact. Really no issues there. The other 3 sites do all extend into the development area, but fortunately they are largely avoided by those types of development that would involve substantial ground disturbance, such as utility trenches and septic field. If you look where the roads and the parking lots come in, is actually an amazing fit where they're going between these sites. Instead, the sites are mainly in the areas of the ball fields and in areas where likely still could be deposited duration ball fields. So this presents a very real possibility that despite the presence of these sites, that they are compatible with development and that they can be preserved in place with little need for additional archaeology. And that ultimately use of the property as a park, as a recreation park, will be compatible with preservation of resources. We presented this information to the two agencies who are involved, who would have regulatory involvement in this project of resources, which are the North Carolina Office of State Archaeology, which is along with the State Forest Preservation Office, and the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians, the Forest Preservation Office. And along with Jack and Stephanie, we participated in a conference call with the state in March and received confirmation that they will approve filling over these sites as long as it can be done in a way that will not impact significant deposits. We have a draft comment letter to that effect, and we'll receive a formal letter within a day or so. We've also got similar comments from the Cherokees. So, based on those facts and discussions with staff and with staff and engineering staff involved in this, it does seem like it's very feasible to use this property as a recreational park in terms of the cultural resources. That is, most of the development will not affect the sites, and that which does can primarily be done in a way that will not impact the sites. So, obviously, there's other issues to consider. From a cultural resource point of view, we're looking at flat land in Macon County. This is a good location, and it's very feasible. So, if you have any questions on that.
Yeah.
This study in no way assures you the sense that Cherokee can come in, stop the development of any part of all of it.
Well, the Cherokee do not, they'd be a consulting party on this project. Legally, they would not, based on the comments we have, and my comment about the confidence with it. But even legally, they would not have the ability to stop development. Where issues would arise and would potentially arise with the tribe and the Center More Red Rights, we have no documentation of raising the site. And they have written a formal comment from the KPO approving the filling. The concerns that everyone will have are that the filling itself is not impact the sites. You can't rub up trees because that's got water filled over. You can't, dig down, remove the topsoil and then fill. But the state supports this, the tribe supports this, and I don't see how people
Any questions?
Is, as far as you know now, this is a phase one, correct? And there'll be no need for phase two?
No, we have determined eligibility, which is typically what a phase two does. We've gone on and eligibility. What we would need now is a memorandum of agreement, which would involve the county, the state, the tribe, and if ultimately was for engineer's jurisdiction, it would involve the Corps. And it would spell out how these sites would be preserved. Now, if it comes up that you need to dig a utility trench across one of these sites, there might be a need for investigation of that utility trench. And, light standards, I'm not sure what all could come up, but the basics of this, basic filling would not be an issue.
If one side is completely in the floodway, did you see the delineation line or locate that from the floodplain?
I think the dashed line here runs along the right side of that slide. It's sort of hard to see. It's almost the edge of the tree line. My understanding that's the floodway. Is that right, sir?
So the remainder of the three sides are in the floodplain?
They're all on alluvial soils. Yeah, I'm not sure how to classify them.
Alluvial, okay.
Yeah.
Alluvial, floodplain, okay.
Sure. All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
public funds to invest in this property through the limited use by the county, which is recreation and parks. And one of the reasons that the county hasn't been actually closed on this property, although the board has appropriated money to pay for it, off the budget amendment and voted to buy the property pending due diligence by those involved to make sure that it would meet the criteria set forth by the county for recreation park. We've been through that due diligence since back in November, December. And the last part of it was the proposal that was based on the market study, which we had just alluded to, showed you in his presentation. All the other due diligence issues have been addressed, most of them were addressed through the consulting engineer who worked with us from Alliance Consulting Engineering Services, everything from the environmental phase one to the delineation of wetlands, floodplain, and so forth. We also had a review by our county planning staff to see if there was some conflict with any county ordinances. And Matt Mason did write us a letter saying that he saw no problems with any of the current county ordinances. I think it was a question, would it have a special high impact ordinance and would not. So I think we have seen nothing in our due diligence that would indicate that the property could not be used for the county intends to use it for. Given that, I guess the next step would be to go ahead and proceed with the closing of the property, but you'd have to actually go into the title search and the attorney would have some work to do before the closing took place. But unless the board directs otherwise, I guess the next step for us to do on the county's behalf is go ahead and proceed with the closing of this property. So I guess we're at that point now where the board wants to change his mind on the purchase of the property or not, and we need to know that without any indication the board has any other desire except to purchase this property. I think the attorney would proceed with doing the necessary work to close and acquire the property on the county's behalf.
The contract to purchase and sale does obligate the county to purchase and to close, pay the purchase price. And the exception to that is during the examination, during the inspection. We've got the ability, should the county make the decision to back out, to back out of the terms and conditions of the inspection and examination clause of the contract. But barring a decision under that provision to back out, the county is obligated to close. And the closing is contemplated to occur, well, first of all, the notice, if you are going to make the decision to back out, has to be delivered on or before the 15th of this month. So a decision would need to be made by the board, probably not, if that's going to happen. Alternatively, the closing is supposed to occur on the 3rd.
I'm Paul Higdon. When we started this Park Meadows thing, I was not on the board, so I've not voted in any way, except to enter into certain phases of due diligence to make sure this property was suitable. But motion to enter into a contract to purchase was prior to my entry on the board. And when I came on, the reason I ran for politics, and people that supported me said, Paul, I promise you we'll stop the spending. And I'm not saying that I'm going to stop this thing, but I do want to voice my opinion about it, and this is my personal opinion. And I appreciate seeing these children here tonight. You know, heart goes out for me, pull on my heartstrings, but that's not what this is about. We're teaching the children about the political process. I know some people have promised them fancy new ball fields, and that's good and great. But in the same breath, teach those children of the full political process that there's no magic wand and nothing is free, that someone has to fund this proposed $5.1 million investment in a recreation park under the guise that we're doing it for the children. And I've seen this used in my life for the children. I watched it with the ABC board. We're going to build new schools. When we enacted the ABC board, we get nothing, maybe $100 a year from the ABC board. I watched it with the education lottery. You'll never have to worry about new schools when we enact this education lottery. We get $400,000 a year to put in school buildings, capital expenses, but the legislature in Raleigh offsets that from the education fund, so it's a wash. I watched the board, before I came on this board, I watched children paraded across, trying to limit individual freedoms of people, prohibiting use of tobacco on public property in the Greenway. We did it for the children. Educationally, previous boards have encumbered $45 million in debt, building things for children, schools. A lot of us didn't want those schools, but we've got them. 5 months ago, the previous board approved $1.5 million to buy computers for children. We do things for children. We value our children. And agreeing with Billy there, I've been to some of these ball fields that we've expected our children to play on for years, and they're pigsties. It's unsafe to play on. And I've done a little talking with people in the Little League area. I'm opposed to purchasing to the tune of a total investment of $5 million for Parker Meadows Golf Course. Number one, it's in a floodplain. We heard the gentleman say it. We currently have a floodplain ordinance that prohibits fill in a floodplain. Now, we may change that ordinance, and I don't know if it would be for our, I don't know why we wanted to change it, but currently we cannot fill this floodplain under current Macon County floodplain ordinance. So if we can't fill it with archaeological remains, we can't use that dirt. We can't use this property, any of it. And, you know, the county right now has 25 acres of good land down the South Macon Elementary School. All it is a hay field. It's just sitting there. It's not in the tax base. I've looked at it with some pretty intelligent people. There's room for 4 or 5 Little League ball fields there. If we're serious about doing something for the Little League, as opposed to building another recreation park for the adults, I'm willing to work with any committee if we choose not to enter into complete this contract to purchase. Let's get serious about cleaning up the fields that we've got. And Billy's been out there, and Billy, I'll tip my hat to him. We don't agree on a whole lot of things, but he and Denny Ledford have gone out and dug up 8-inch tree roots off of the ball field Union School to keep some child from busting his head when he slides into third base. But we've got some recreational facilities out there for the Little League. I don't care about the adults, the Little League, and they've been ignored. The one at the industrial park, when I went out to look at it, it had water standing in the outfield. The 2 little fields we've got out at South Macon School have got a gully running through the middle of them. If it rains, they don't drain. We've neglected what we've got for these children. And so to come in here and promise them that we're going to deliver you brand new, spanking new fields and everything's going to be magical, it's not going to happen. We need to take care of what we got, have one person in this county in charge of the Little League, girls, boys, softball, baseball that reports to this board, and let's set up a budget to improve what we've got and maintain that, and look at maybe expanding on county-owned property that's not in a floodplain at South Macon School right now. We're going out here and spend, and I'm a real estate broker also, and I'm not active, but this property that we're looking at is 40-something acres for $550,000. That's over $10,000 an acre, and in this real estate market, in my opinion, that property is worth less than half that per acre. It's all in a floodplain, and if I were advising a client or as a commissioner advising a taxpayer and trying to get the best deal for either one of those, I would not enter into purchase property in a short sale. A short sale is the step, generally, and 90% of the time, the step prior to foreclosure. Now, if it's a short sale and there's a desirable piece of property and people are lined up to buy it, and you've got a contract to purchase and short sale completed to keep the other buyers, there's nobody lined up to buy this property. It's been sitting there for years. It's in the floodplain, it's overvalued in my opinion, and therefore I cannot support encumbering taxpayers to the tune of $5 million on this project. Let's get serious about looking at South Macon property, and let's really do something for the children, and not just a second Flint Park. And therefore I will oppose, if it comes to a vote, and I may be outvoted, that's fine, I can live with that, but if it comes to a vote, I will oppose entering into this contract for purchase. Thank you.
I've got some more. Now, I talked to Mr. Van Hook, and I think what he's done. And he had a list of some places he was pretty interested that I asked him to email me or to let me look at, where they were places we already had the ball fields could be put or maintained. And if we go back to when I came on the board, we were looking at the old Tartuck J Schools, we were trying to make bids on it for the ball field. And we have been looking since I came on the board. And we hadn't come up with exactly what we're looking for, each the price didn't work out. When this was brought up, it was very interesting to me. I made a motion on it, so I'm saying it up front. But it was due to due diligence. And when I went and looked at it, there's a lot of questions that I had about it. But one thing, and I would agree with you, I think it's worth about half of what we're buying it for. And I got my information from the real estaters that's out there every day selling property like that, or like any other property. And I have had at least 4 realtors tell me that they wouldn't give $200,000 for a piece of property and they got what they could sell it for. So I feel like for the people out here that I represent, that I'd be doing them wrong if I go out here and pay double what a piece of property is worth using their tax money. I wouldn't be too good a steward with our money. Having ball fields, like I told Mr. Vanderbilt, I stand behind it in every way for us to pick the ball fields we have. I've got children that play sports. They don't play baseball, they play basketball. What's the difference? I enjoy seeing them play ball. And if they wanted to be baseball players, I'd be all happy with that. But I just feel like that, well, when we were talking about this year, it was for ball fields only, and as the engineer was saying about whether he was going to put the track around there, or the trails, or what have you, I brought up before about that. Well, we got over 200 miles of trails in Macon County, all around the schools. They got places to walk. They've got a greenway down here. We need to concentrate on what we need, and that's ball fields. So basically, I feel the same way about you. I won't vote for it.
Would you entertain a motion, Mr. Chairman? Is that appropriate? Protocol?
Where are we on this suggestion?
I think to the extent that one or more commissioners would like to see the option to opt out of this contract or to cancel this contract realized, then I think it's perfectly within their right to make a motion that the purchaser, that is the county, chooses not to purchase the property in accordance with the inspections clause under the contract. I think it would require the action of the majority of this board.
Okay. So the motion would be held.
Mr. Chairman, having received legal advice from council, I make a motion that we rescind the contract purchase with proposed Park Matter Fund.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion on this motion.
Should my motion carry in the form of a majority, find that I do want to concentrate on doing something for these children. And we really need to coordinate, take care of what we got, look at what we can expand. Let's just don't encumber the taxpayers of these children in the future. I'm disappointed in politicians that for 40 years have bankrupted this country by voting for every feel-good idea to come along. And I'm more interested in the future of these children from a financial standpoint than I am today about a fancy rec park that they may get to use occasionally. But I'm interested, I'll support getting ball fields, true ball fields. May not be in one area, but let's concentrate on doing something for these children, seriously doing something for a change.
And I would agree that I also, as a conservative, tired of spending money you don't have. When we first talked about this, I said up front, I would not be for borrowing money to do this. I would not be for raising taxes to do this. If we could spend money we already had to do this, then I would support it. And we looked at it as far as the purchase price, and I'll take you back to our discussions in November, Commissioner Hayden. We talked about this and we voted unanimously to make the offer on the property at $550. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I will tell you, because I mentioned it, and I think it's in minutes, I did talk to Guy Duval, who did the last appraisal that was done on it. The appraisal came in at 710, a little over 710.
Kevin Snyder.
The guy's firm, Guy Duval's firm. And I asked Guy, do you think that appraisal would have changed significantly? And I'm talking about in the terms of 200,000 or more. He indicated no. I also asked this board, would you guys want another appraisal done? How much was it? $733,500 was the last appraisal.
733,500.
July 2011.
That's correct. July
Yeah,
5,
that-
2011.
So my question was, I'm not in the real estate business, I'm not an appraiser. So my question was, has that changed significantly? Obviously, my question was to determine if it had dropped below the $550,000 range. Based on my conversation with Guy, he indicated he didn't think it had. Now, I did ask you guys, do we have another appraisal done? And we didn't have a motion to do that. I would have been in favor of doing that, to see. All this is interesting discussion, but where is 48 acres that's level land to build ball fields? And I would agree with Mr. Haven that all these other things, the tennis courts, all those things, we've not voted to do that. And this, I will not vote to spend $5.1 million for ball fields. That's not what we're voting on. We're not voting on that. That's not on the table. That was a figure that was put forth by this firm that came and drew up these plans and included all those things we saw on there, the tennis courts and all these other things. We're not voting to do that. That's another discussion for another day. What we're talking about tonight is, do we want to buy 48 acres that has the potential to put these ball fields on? That's all we're voting on. There's not a motion on the table. There's no discussion about spending $5.1 million. That was something that's mentioned by one person that none of us have discussed. I'm not for voting to spend $5.1 million. I've talked to Louis Finland, I've talked to other people in the business. It will not cost anywhere close, Seth, to that to build 8 ball fields out there. That's ridiculous to keep talking about $5.1 million. I'm not voting for $5.1 million. Where's the motion to spend $5.1 million? Has anybody made that motion? I'm lost. All we're talking about is, are we going to buy 48 acres? And we did the due diligence. And unless I'm missing something, we can develop it. Seth, am I missing that? We can, yes or no? Can we develop that property?
Yes, we can.
In a floodplain.
Yes.
Under current floodplain orders, can we develop that property?
We asked that question. That was one of the first questions we asked, and we asked it of Mr. Mason, who was in our planning department, and he said, yes, you can. Now, I want to answer that, but I'm hearing, he says we can't. Our guy said we can't.
Our floodplain ordinance prohibits imported fill in the floodplain.
Imported is the key.
Imported fill. And we just heard that we can't disturb the top layer in any of the archaeological
Mr.
sites.
Webb's still here? Maybe he didn't understand, Mr. Webb's gonna come back up.
Okay.
Can we develop the property based on current ordinances, is my question. And the answer that we've been given early on was, yes, we can.
And I was with you on, I don't think I met with you with us, but at that time he was talking about shifting fill in the floodplain. That he could shift the fill. We didn't know that we had these sites, that we can't shift any dirt over these archaeological sites. That has to be, the hay rise and the topsoil has to remain in place with the ground cover. Is that, can we scrape the?
You could remove the vegetation and cut it or something. But the hay rise has to stay in place.
If you can fill on top of it.
You can fill on top of it. Technically, you cannot disturb the cultural features that are at the top of the peak. And could you take off a little bit of it?
but, you know, similar.
But can we place imported fill in a floodplain under our current ordinances? I know you're not, Matt's not here either.
Jack Morgan, that's all.
Jack, can we import fill in a floodplain?
Not under a current ordinance, no.
Where do we get fill to cover over the archaeological side?
Ed, you want to talk to that? Can we talk about it first?
Well, I'm not sure where we'll get the bill from.
Do we need to?
Some, yes.
All the area where the parking is not in the archaeological sites. All the area where the park is not in the archaeological sites. So we can take that and use it where we need to use it.
If it's flat, how are you gonna get filled out of the flat area?
The entire site, not the entire site is in the floodplain, is it?
No, and it's actually, I don't have a copy of the
I
plan.
think less than half of it is in.
Yeah.
I guess my question is, we asked those questions like really early on, like back in December.
Yeah.
And the answer that I was given was that as far as the floodplain, we developed it.
We need to.
Huh?
According to Mr. Mason, we can, it wasn't developable. Or the plan that we have is possible.
How do we develop it without fill in a floodplain, is all I want to know. And anybody that thinks that we can go out there and build these ball fields without imported fill, never been on a dozer. I live on one. You can't cut and fill. You can't do any cutting on this property.
Now, I would ask a question. Seems to me that when we hear different things in Macon County, it's just a procedure to change the ordinance so that we can use imported food. And I think that's a possibility. I see those ordinances change all the time. And they don't change until there's a need to change.
But then so can everyone else.
Excuse me?
Everyone else can import fill on their floodplain properties, once you change that ordinance.
But the answer that we were given was that we developed this property as is. I don't know when that's changed.
Have to go on Jack Morgan's statement that we cannot import fill in the floodplain under current county ordinances.
So Jack, are you?
Yes.
Are you saying the way this property is there now, can we build 8 ball fields?
To be honest with you, I don't know if you'd have to bring in any field or not to make the ball fields what the Little League Association needs. I don't know that question. I don't know what kind of field they'd have to bring in. All I can speak to is our current ordinance does not allow us to bring in anything other than incidental field into the floodplain area. Now, all the property is not in the floodplain.
Right.
So there's some basis of using some of that possibly. I don't know. This is the first time I've seen this archaeological study, so I couldn't say. So there could be some potential.
It's for we've seen.
Some potential.
I'm sorry, until that question's answered, obviously, if we can't buy a piece of property to use one, now, yes, we have had testimony that we can develop that property, but now we're hearing testimony tonight that we can't develop that property.
And that's key, and that's my
Going into
frustration.
tonight, I'm 100% in favor of this project, and I'm 100% in favor of it right now. I've heard testimony tonight that, yeah, we need to move these ball fields, we need to have them. And I don't disagree with that at all. I think the need is there. And I've heard testimony tonight, well, we can put it on other county property. Well, until tonight, or so far, I haven't heard or seen a plan for anywhere else that we can put it. So in my opinion, from what I've been gathered, the information that I've gathered together, this is the spot to put it. But if we can't develop it according to our current ordinances, and we're going to have to change our ordinances to be able to develop it, then I can't be in favor of it.
I never had that discussion. I don't even remember that ever coming up. Except we had this discussion early on about this piece of property. We put out there with graders, we put out there with Mr. Mason, you know, if we needed to cut some field, we have that whole back side of that bank, bring field, and what they told us was clean it.
That's where the septic system goes.
No, on the back side, when you come in, the big high bank.
Jack, please correct me if I'm wrong, but if you have, if the property that's not in the floodplain, you can't bring that dirt, in the property that's not in the floodplain, and put it in the floodplain. You
That's
can only
right.
move dirt that's within the floodplain.
That's why I interpret
No, if it's on the parcel, if it's on the parcel of the property,
I want to ask Mr. Jones to interpret that ordinance then.
if it's on the parcel of the property, the way the ordinance, I believe, reads.
I don't have the ordinance with me, and I'm not gonna try to give you an opinion on something that's not in front of me.
We need another lawyer, anybody like?
I am.
There's a
No, I guess it's all dependent upon the interpretation of the ordinance, because if we can move fill from off of it and put it on it, we'll probably have an unfavorable development.
Chester, could we get a determination about this? I know I'm here to say you can't do that tonight. Can we do that? And Mr. Manager, call me for a couple days from now. Let's get an answer to this. And that's my frustration is I want an answer to it. Because I was told early on, we can develop a property. It's fine, not a problem with it. And where are you gonna find 48, there's not 48 acres flat land, built ball fields, that I've seen anywhere other than this. But if we can't develop it, we don't need to buy it.
I think the question is how much facility we have to have. And, I think that's something that depending on that, and of course it's built property, but just, you couldn't really go in there and fill it back up to the road level or anything like that. You don't want to fill up the road level in the first place, because you know, you build it up to your ground ball fields down there. I don't know what it's going to do. How thick that's going to be and how big of an area that's going to be. So the question you're asking is, can we take property that's out there in this parcel and move dirt around in order to generate a ball field that work? That's the question we're trying to determine. So we need to get a definitive answer to that.
Well, according to our county employees, if it's a parcel property, it's a one contiguous parcel, and you take and if they're not, you take this dirt off of there and move it down below, as long as it's on the parcel, not from floodplain to floodplain. They don't say that.
And that's only the floodplain. In the floodway, you can't do that within the
Floodplain.
Floodway, there's not any planned development in the floodway.
That's right.
At all in this plan.
So that was the information we've worked off ever since we started.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Taylor told us it'd take between 120 and 140 loads of dirt rolled out there that they knew talked. And they talked about it, and now we might blow everything.
Correct.
So that dirt right there is coming off.
What's that going into play? It's a question.
Right.
Yeah, well,
So it's going to come out there and here and bring it up to par.
that's the question.
I'm not a,
Well,
I see it.
I think, Mr. Chairman, you need
guys,
to
I'm here.
finalize tonight, but we can
If you
make a
don't-
final decision to reject the offer that the board's already made. I think we'll need a couple of days to do some more research on that, so if this board's interested in recessing this meeting and allows us to do this, we can do it, but
I guess, as chairman, I'm suggesting we do that, because I don't feel comfortable voting on, I'm hearing two different things.
Why did we have this? We thought we had this information.
I did too.
We thought we had it. Say what? You were there for all these conversations.
I mean, according to what we were told, I thought it was no problem.
Told the county employees, by the county planners, by the people who went out there and looked at it.
There's just something wrong with us not at these properties and changing the ordinance so we can use it.
I wouldn't do that.
I'm not in favor of
I don't think
it.
nobody.
I'm not in favor of it.
That's the first time I've ever heard that.
It's
Nobody.
the three of us to talk at one time. So we've got to talk to one another. And that's movies. 101. Negative impacts, I've got the big thing.
Don't get me wrong, I'm 100% for this project.
So call the vote, Mr. Chairman, or call the question, or do we want to?
I think, if I may add one bit, if the board is inclined to study the matter further, we may need some additional time. Right now, you've got to make that decision and communicate it all before the 15th of this month. I don't know how much time you're going to need, but you may want to, in your course of discussion here, instruct me and the county manager to seek a extension of the meeting time.
We got an engineer that stood right there, I think he paid pretty good money, didn't he? Said that it was suitable, and the dirt was suitable, and we don't have that, that's bring that, I don't think. Now, one of the engineers come around, I got one engineer that comes, I'm looking at Cherokee Indians, I don't care what done.
They did. And I think the questions come because of the information the gentleman's given us tonight and what Jack has told us tonight. Now, I guess I'm just hearing enough questions. And guys, this is an important decision.
Right.
We need ball field. Nobody in this room can say we don't need ball field. Nobody. Because we need ball. We have 1,100 people that play baseball and softball. And all these are mostly children. These are from children. I agree with the ABC stuff and all that. Put me down, Broadway.
Be careful, I agree, for the children, if we're serious about
For
it,
the children. And I'm for that.
And I will withdraw my motion
If we can research.
with one caveat. If this board will visit the property at South Macon to look at the potential use of currently owned county property.
Can we tell you what we've already done there?
Probably, you may not be familiar with that. That property is actually purchased as part of the South Macon Elementary School project. And after that property was purchased, the idea was to build a recreation park behind that property, which would require quite a bit of grading, much deeper than the plow line. After the archaeological survey was done on that property, they determined that it would be absolutely unfinancially feasible to develop that property because you have to go all the way through, not just to do a phase one, but a phase two, but you'd also have to be able to remove all those artifacts on that property. And that property was the site of a major Indian village many years ago. All may be familiar with that, I'm not certain, but that area where the old mill race was and so forth down there, the information that I had on that one was that the cost of doing the archaeological work down there in order to grade that and use that for a ball field would be much more than what it costs to actually put the ball fields in there.
And we have to have an archaeological study provided we do what? See,
Putting public money into it.
public money being,
You have to comply with the National Environmental Policy Act and the State Environmental Policy Act. If you want to use public funds to develop public facilities. Am I right about that? And so you can't just go there and do anything to it without going through those regulations.
I thought with you, Paul, that was a great place. First guys on the board.
well, if we're gonna play with the rules a little bit, Park Meadows, by changing the ordinance in Fort Field, let's sell
Nobody's gonna do that,
that.
change.
Let's sell that for $5 out there to somebody, let a private individual, let Bill advantage of that.
That's the federal, those are federal regulations that we can't do anything about in South Lake.
I mean, hold on. First of all, nobody has ever suggested changing the ordinance. I've never heard that. So I've heard, I would not be for doing that. The very first question that we asked was, can we develop this property with our current floodplain ordinance? And the answer that we were given was yes. Okay? That was from Matt Mason, that was from the engineer. if we're hearing conflicting information, and I'm hearing commissioners are concerned about it, guys, as chairman, I would suggest that we table this, and if we can't make, if we're getting conflicting information, we don't need to get conflicting information, the wrong information after we bought the property. Mr. Chester, am I crazy about that? I mean, we need to know. I want an answer.
I think to the extent there's an outstanding question, you are not comfortable about having a good answer, it is appropriate to make that decision.
And I would not suggest voting it up or down. We don't have the information, because you don't want to vote it down and have folks accuse you of voting against something that would be great for our kids, which it would be if we could have done it. Consequently, you don't want to vote for it if we wind up, if we can't use it. So I see no alternative, Chester, but let's ask for some more time. And we get the answer, and I want an answer. That can't be that hard. And no, we're not going to change the ordinance to do it. That's never been mentioned. Have we ever made that motion? Did anybody make a motion to change the ordinance?
No,
I've never heard of it.
I don't even been discussed. No, but I would say this right here, and it has nothing to do with this property, all right? If it comes before me to vote against that part right there in that ordinance, I would vote to take it out of there for the benefit of everybody in Macon County, because I don't feel like it's right.
And we all voted for that, Ron. All of us. Okay? But it had nothing to do with this property.
Right.
Do we agree with that? We didn't vote. This floodplain thing we talked about had nothing to do with this property because we were told it was okay to develop. And I'm hoping it still is. And I'm telling you, if we get the answer it is, and we've been told it's worth what it's valued at, and it'll work for what we want to do, then it's a good thing to do. Yeah. And I'm support it.
So what information are we exactly looking for? So we have to go through this again. Do we need more engineers? Do we need more, spend more money on engineering?
The only question I think is, can you fill the area we need to fill for the ball fields? Other areas are not going to be filled because it's just walking trails or whatever it might be.
We've already got the areas determined.
The areas where the ball fields are the only areas that will have to be filled.
Do we need to, do you know how much we need to fill it, say?
I think the large portion of 300-foot fields are out of the floodplain. I think that might, I'm not familiar with exactly how the ordinance reads or anything. I think that's where they were saying that we might import field on something that's out of the floodplain altogether.
If it's out, a lot of this is out of the floodplain, you can import.
And in the majority, the bulk of the big fields are out of the floodplain.
Is this not something, Jack, between you and Chester, you can sit down and look at the ordinance and decide whether we use that property or not?
Yes.
Like tomorrow?
Yes, in the morning.
Mr. Chairman, if you
Tonight?
want to continue this meeting. Make a determination. If we can get enough information where you can determine whether that's feasible. 2 days from now,
Jack,
we might be able to-
if we continue this meeting until Thursday, 2 days, could you guys make the determination and give us an
I
answer?
think we can under the terms of the ordinance, we may need input from the engineer or whoever studied how much dirt has got to be moved and where. That's something that neither myself or Jack's gonna know.
Seth does. We paid an engineer to do that. He's done it.
I mean, that information is available.
Is that information available, Seth? We have a chart that says it needs X amount of dirt.
Yeah, we do.
And it's not in the floodplain.
So with that given, could we continue the
Do you
meeting?
have those maps, Seth?
I don't believe
Like in the car?
That's another right here.
Is that the engineer's map?
This is the approximate 100-year, 500-year floodplain, which covers all of our roads, entrance roads, and stuff,
Well,
in the floodplain.
And we've seen that.
Oh, yeah. That's what it was laid off for. That's what he did.
So what we're doing this week, Thursday.
Well, Thursday, no good. I mean, I'm not, I don't get to be greedy, but I won't be in on this decision on Thursday, and actually do a sale business. Friday night, Saturday morning, Saturday night, I'm available. I think
We do Friday
floodplain,
night.
We need current floodplain delineation. And Marsh Sprinkle's done floodplain survey. We can't just go out there and say, oh, we think this is the floodplain, we don't think it's the floodplain. That's a guessing game. It's gotta be marked on the ground.
Didn't he not measure it out? It was measured out exactly in place.
Yeah, okay, right here.
The engineer did it too.
Shows they're in the floodplain. The parking areas and the entrance room are in the floodplain.
But not the ballpark.
Actually,
So, Mr. Attorney, do we ask for an extension on the due diligence phase? Is that something that would be wise to do?
I think it's a function of whether or not y'all are gonna try to get back together before that 15th day. You're gonna try to get back and decide this issue before that day.
It's not gonna change somebody, people's mind on this board, put it off for another month. Just call them, tell them it already, some of the mind's already made up, it don't matter. So, put it off for another month, it won't make no difference.
let's don't vote then. No question.
I mean, it's not, you know, it don't make no difference what, but you know what, we need to know the information, but it's already, it sounds like a lot of the minds are already made up.
I'll tell you right now, I'm gonna vote for the project, just based upon the information we've been given, we can develop it. I'm gonna be highly upset if we've been given incorrect information.
Well, I will be too.
That's how come the Macon County owns all this land out here, it's like what we live in that tower, so they don't know that.
Jimmy Tate's fault, he's fault.
I think recessing the meeting as county manager suggested is appropriate.
I do too.
I think it would afford the opportunity to look at Jack Morgan's concern and the ordinance and circle wagons in that basin with Seth, and if necessary, we'll call Mike LaVoy and see what his calculations had to say about all these issues. And try to answer the questions that you raised.
I think we need to do that.
Board, I do have a copy of the letter from Matt Mason that says concerning flood ordinance, the property is located within a special flood hazard area with proposed design will not locate principal structures within any flood zone. There will be some secondary structures such as picnic shelters that are located in the floodplain. The proposed design will keep the existing floodway intact and it will remain undeveloped. Some of the proposed recreation park and parking meadows, park farms will be in full compliance with all of the existing land use ordinances that are in effect.
Thanks. And that was information that.
When was that, Mr. Chairman?
So
He's saying that we can't build.
no, he didn't say that. He just said, I didn't say anything about bringing Bill in. He just said that, based on the design, it will not be done. And I can't tell you what his thought process was on.
Could we, I guess that's the question, we got him saying in chat, and we got somebody saying, well, they're bringing on the
So I don't think it'll take it more than 2 days to answer these questions.
I didn't take a hurry.
Well, we've got to.
Tomorrow, Thursday.
That's where we're in.
All Thursday.
How about Friday?
Friday night?
Paul, can we Friday?
Right now.
Jim, can we Friday? Ron, can we Friday? Ron, can we Friday?
That's right.
What time?
Work for 6 or 7. Everybody is about that.
I just kept it between 9 and 12 in the morning.
All these people work, they will be here for anything. Well, let's say 6 or 7 o'clock.
Friday, 6 p.m. Can you get the information Jack, can you and Chester, Jack, get the information we need by Friday at 6 p.m.?
Yes, sir.
That's all I need.
What about on this?
Now, what information you gonna get? I still don't know that.
Whether we can fill, and if we can fill enough, we'll
We'll
fill it
find out
all.
whether you can put this project as designed in the preliminary plan on this piece of property.
That we've already signed.
And be in conformance with the.
To be in conformance with the county ordinance.
Like Matt Mason said, he's glad that was good.
I agree, Ronnie, but we're here to get some information tonight, and we've got commissioners concerned about that, and I think we have to have a definitive answer that we know it up or down. One way or the other, I think we need to table it.
If I could add one thing, I would recommend that you myself and county manager go ahead and contact about the possibility of an extension should be made.
I agree.
Hoping we won't be.
I agree. Because we don't need to have good conditions.
We'll address that issue
Again, Friday the 6th, you're okay?
Friday the 6th. And Ron made a point. Some of us may have our mind made up on this thing. I'm willing to vote on it up or down right tonight, but if y'all are uncomfortable with what we're hearing.
Well, I think I'm hearing enough of that I think it makes sense to.
One way or the other, in other words, we're going to meet again for this due diligence period. So
that's right.
Or extend, right?
My understanding is that it'll be recessing this evening's meeting Friday, which would be
that is
April 12th, which is within that period of time. So, certainly.
And the only thing I would agree with you, that it makes sense to have a discussion with them. If something comes up in your discussions, and you're not going to get back with us as a body until Friday, it makes sense to ask them if we have to extend it, we can do that. It just makes sense to do that. So that's at 6, which is at 6 o'clock. Also, indicate Mr. Higgins withdrawn the motion. So, and we'll continue, at the end of this meeting, we'll continue on Friday so we can get the answers to the questions. Chester, you have to do that investigation. The rest of the information. All right. Thank you for the vigorous debate, gentlemen. It is.
Sitting through all these planning board meetings, about the discussion on this.
So we just want to whole meeting.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll continue to do
You don't get out that easy, Ron.
All right. Gentlemen, the next item on the agenda is the consideration of classification compensation study. Jack?
Thank you, Chairman. If you all recall, this is an ongoing process that we've been involved in. I think this came up about 2 years ago. We were looking at various salaries in the sheriff's office and started looking at those to see how out of line they were with our neighbors and so forth, and the going rate for them. We board approved the budget in 2011, and part of that, during that time, agreed to go ahead and engage a qualified company to do a classification compensation study for the county employees. The sheriff's office withdrawal property within the county. And so we contracted with a company called Springstead, who is well known. We've done a lot of these studies throughout North Carolina. Comes highly recommended by the County Commission Association and the League of Municipalities. A couple of things we found out, that the report took longer, the study took longer to do than we thought it was going to take originally. It was commissioned in July or August, I believe, of 11, and actually didn't get started until early fall, and wasn't finished up until late spring of the next year, and the presentation was brought to the board. I believe it was in July of 2012. The recommendations on reported facts on the study. As you recall, at that time, many of you will, that a couple of things, and I think Mike Decker has written a real good comprehensive summary of where we are and what the study has, and it's including the agenda packet. I think you all have that. You also prepared for you all sometime back a comparison of our current classification plan with job titles, minimum, midpoint, and maximum hours compared to the proposed minimum, midpoint, maximum of the proposed plan. couple of things that really came to light in the study. One of them was that the study found that our overall pay plan, which hasn't been updated in the real classification and pay plan study for over 10 years, I think 1996 perhaps.
That's the last one.
The last time we had one that was actually implemented. And so we found out that based on the research that the company did, that our pay plan that we're currently operating under is 21% below the average for our area and so forth. We also found that 55% of our employees were below the minimum pay for their pay grade based on the study. We've had a few salary adjustments over the past few years. I think back in 2008 we had about a 4% adjustment. And I think in 2011 there was a 3%. We didn't do any cost of living adjustment for the employees in 2009, 2010, 2012. We did give them some extra vacation time this past year without having to put any money into it, just additional time off. The big issue is how much it's going to cost, although everybody agreed that probably something needs to be done. Take a look and make sure that our pay schedule is fair and equitable for the employees to provide a great deal of service. And the board has mentioned on many occasions how much they appreciate our Pine County employees and the job that they do to provide service to the citizens of our county. And they've done a good job, and I work with them every day, and I'll echo that. But we found out, and there were three things we asked the folks to do. One of them is take a look and see what it would cost for us to implement this plan, and basically it's three parts. Those who are below the beginning salary for that pay grade, bring them up to at least the beginning salary of that pay grade. That was about 82% of the cost would actually go to that. We figured the total cost, and then the others that were actually may have been at the right level or above that would be a 2% raise to all others. The biggest chunk of money, and it would take $754,000. I think we mentioned this in our January work session. It would take $754,192 to implement this plan for a 12-month period. Out of that $754,000, that includes not only the salaries, but also the fringe benefits, which include Social Security, Medicare, retirement, and all those things that go along that are tied to your salary. The actual cost of the salary would be $533,127 to bring our employees to a below minimum up to minimum. The balance, $113,000, would do a 2% raise for everyone else. And as we all know, under the federal government changed our retirement, our FICA rate back January 1st, and so it went back up about 2%. So if this was instituted, it would basically take those people who are already above the minimum back to what they were making December 31st. Is what that would do. You can probably find problems with the study. You can probably find problems with any study that's ever been done. There's no one perfect study out there, but I think this is well represents what the going rate is. To implement this pay plan, our goal was not to implement it and pay for it with a tax increase. And so there's no tax increase requested to implement this pay plan. Our goal was not to take the money away from someone else and put it into salaries for employees by cutting them short. This does not do that. Our employees have done a good job, and especially our finance director, finance department, saving money this past year. Doing what we think we need to do is living within our means, and we've been able to do that. We've saved money by doing some refinancing. We've saved money by holding off on some expenditures. We've saved off money by not hiring additional people, more people picking up extra work and so forth. And so, one of the reasons for delay in implementing a classification of pay point was to figure out a way to pay for it that didn't require tax increase. I think we've done that. Our employees do a terrific job. They've been hurt by the recession just like everyone else. Many of them, spouses, family members that been hurt by the recession and so forth. Costs of living continues to go up, gasoline, food, everything else, utilities. And so they're like everyone else. They feel the pain of that as well. What we would like to do is implement this pay study as soon as we can. Not because it's going to bring our employees' salaries way up, but it's not going to do that. It's going to bring people below minimum, at least up to the minimum salary for the job that they do for the people of this county. And all those beyond that, which is basically bringing them back to what they were making on the 31st this past year. I think if the board agrees to implement this, we'd like to see it implemented as soon as possible. Probably the earliest we could do it would be up on payroll period. Possibly the earliest one would be perhaps April the 22nd would be another beginning payroll time. There would not be any further adjustments as far as salary goes in the upcoming year's budget. If the board approved the pay plan, this is the pay plan that will be in effect until the board decides to change it at some future time. We have a lot of good folks, and I've said that time and time again. Some of them aren't prepared, don't particularly like to get up and talk for themselves, but I think we expect them to work hard. We expect them to do what's necessary to provide the level of service that people in this county expect, that the county has provided over the years. And on the other hand, we are expected by them to pay them at least the going rate for their services. As manager, I don't think it's asking too much to bring our people below minimum up to minimum, and the other ones is a slight increase to bring them at least back up to where they were in December. In order to implement this thing this year, before the end of the fiscal year, we would only need about $140,000. And it would be, if it is approved, it would be incorporated into the regular budget during the budget preparation and finalized budget that the board would have a chance to review and approve. But the question of salaries would not be one that would be deliberated in the budget after that. I can give you 100 reasons why I think I ought to do it. But I think the number one reason is it's fair, it's equitable. We expect them to do the job, and we should pay them for what they do. Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, I would recommend that you take favorable consideration on implementing this study as soon as practical. I think the employees greatly appreciate it. I think it would be a big morale boost for them to show them that you not only say you appreciate them for the work that they do, but you show them in this small way that you appreciate them for the work that they do. And my recommendation is to go ahead and move forward with this, Chairman, and implement it as soon as possible.
Jack, you've answered, I know we had several questions about this, and you answered several others. We did ask, I know I asked specifically about the insurance part. We paid a higher percentage of insurance than a lot of counties do. So my question was, factor that in, let's talk about that.
Fringe benefits are always taken into consideration. The county at one time used to pay the complete cost of insurance for each county employee and their entire families. They quit doing that after a number of years, and so the employees had to pick up a portion of the coverage that covers their spouse or dependents and their family. And the county has tried to keep that burden down as low as we can. The county covers each individual county employee in our insurance pool for claims that they make. The county basically pays the claims. We have a third-party administrator we pay to process those claims. And we have stop loss insurance that kicks in once we hit a maximum amount of money that we spend on each claim for an employee. As I told the department heads when we start our budget process this year, we're gonna have to adjust costs for dependent coverage for our employees. I don't think the county, we held the line on increasing the cost of our insurance premiums for our employees and their dependents, and for what we're putting into it pretty much for the last 3 years. I don't think we've had an increase in that. But as I told the department heads in February, we're going to have to increase the dependent coverage cost for the employees. So even though they may get an increase in salary, those that are affected by the classification pay plan, it's going to cost them more money to continue to carry their dependent coverage on the county insurance program. So in the end, it may or may not have a positive effect. So it is going to cost more, just like the price of fuel and the cost of food and everything else. So that is something we're dealing with in our budget work and our preparation. And we expect to have a balanced budget presented back to this board by no later than the 21st of May.
Jack, my question to you privately, and I'll ask you here at the convention, but I want to be clear. I said during our meeting in January that I personally would not be for raising taxes for any reason. We've already got the lowest tax rate in the state, and we're going to argue with that and say, well, we've not done a reval. Even if you do calculations for the reval, you figure what properties you're selling versus what the valuations are. If you do that for all 100 counties, because I saw the study, we're still the lowest. Okay, let's be clear about that. So we're still low, but we've said we don't want to raise taxes because we're in a recession. We understand that. People feel hurting, real estate, construction, all those things, we feel that. So I guess my big question is, you're saying it would add $140,000 this year's budget, and then you do that and not ask us for a tax increase next year.
Yeah, our plans on the budget for this year are pretty clear. The board made a strong indication when we had our mid-year review that this will not be the year for a tax increase. And if it required a tax increase to implement this classification pay plan, it wouldn't even be a recommendation to you at this point. So we don't anticipate any tax increase this year. I'll put a caveat on that unless the state of North Carolina through the General Assembly decides there's something that we have to pay for that we haven't planned on, and that we're required to raise taxes to do it outside of that.
We've asked him not to do that.
Absolutely, outside of that. If we do not anticipate you plan a tax increase, and that's the point that you made, is we've been operating on pretty much of a flat, and if you do have a tax revaluation, you always have to calculate what a revenue neutral tax rate would be. A revenue neutral tax rate simply tells you that you're going to take in the same amount of money you took in the year before. And so that's what we've been doing, and that's what we'll continue to do, and continue to operate within that. We're very fortunate to have some good people who monitor their budgets and keep within their spending limits, and we've been able to maintain our fund balance, and we've been able to keep our tax rate the lowest in the state, and we've still been able to provide all the services that the county has provided over the past several years and keep those things in place. So I think we have a lot to be thankful for. And we're in the people business. We do a lot of different things in the county, but basically we serve the people, and we're people serving people. And our employees are the ones who carry out that service to all the people in this county, whether you get food stamps or an ambulance picks you up, or you sit down in a restaurant and expect to eat a meal that doesn't poison you, or whatever, or you have to have somebody incarcerated or locked up, or whatever the case may be, emergency services, human services, and so forth. The local government employees, our county employees, are the first line, and they do a good job. And that's our resource. We basically take the taxpayers' funds and other funds we get and return them back into the community through service from our county employees. And I think the county can be proud of the job it's done. And it's not one person. Somebody said one time, if you see a turtle sitting on the fence post, you can pretty much bet he didn't get there by itself. And that's what it is with all of our services. One person does not do it all by themselves. It takes a good team of people that are motivated to do a good job. And I've talked to a lot of county employees, some of them one-on-one. They appreciate having a job. They enjoy what they're doing. They're proud to work for Macon County, and they want to continue to do that. But they want to get at least a fair wage, and I think the study does that.
And the other question is, as chairman, I need to make sure that we answered all these questions. The other thing that came up at the last meeting was the question we didn't compare Jackson County being our closest county. And we need to get those figures. And
Jackson County is a lot higher.
And I didn't see those figures, and that is true.
Is that published? I didn't see that.
I'd like to see all of them. I'd like to see what Lake County does. I'd like to see what Lake does. I'd like to see all of them. Jack, I'm sorry, I don't feel like that before. I mean, state county, state so good. Maybe I'm alone, I don't know. What they would have to do is what we do here.
Raven's higher than Jackson's higher.
You have county employees who leave and Macon County going to work in Cherokee County. That ought to be enough to tell you that our salaries are too low.
Mr. Manager, I think we're very blessed to have the people that we have. You gotta remember that these employees are, you know, they spend this money in Macon County. And they're good people. And I'll make a motion that we implement the plan as presented. Finishing this year, implement the plan as soon as possible. Pay our employees for what they work, and we'll never dime us, no tax increase. And we're blessed to have the employees we have. That's the motion.
So your motion is to
Implement immediately by appropriating $140,000 to finish this year out, and then it will be the rest of the budget, the $700 or something, be incorporated into the physical budget for next year.
understand that we didn't know tax.
So it is.
So we have a motion on the floor. We have a second. We have a motion and a second. Now we need to have any discussion.
Well, I discussed it all night long, I think that we got good employees. And I don't mind one bit to go for a raise term. When I come here in 2009, 2010, we just had a 6% tax increase passed, and I remember this correctly if I'm wrong.
Correct, you know, we're wrong.
That's $6 million. That's 6% tax increase. Give us what I think.
We're ready to give them, is that 6%?
But I know I voted for a tax increase for next year. I believe it's 3%, if I'm wrong, last year, it was just an extra time. I tried to see if I could vote for give them cash money instead of giving them an extra 2 or 3 days off, or 2 or 3 days off.
24 hours.
Something like that.
We would have recommended money to us as well, but we didn't have money, and that's why we recommended additional time off.
But whenever we're putting the tax burden of $3 million on the taxpayers out here, I'd like to see about that, let's decrease the tax somehow to $3 million tax. We can't make that work.
Discussion.
Appreciate y'all being here at full spectrum Little League. Now we got old folks, county employees. And this is not, I don't think this is a question about your integrity, your qualifications, your ability, and your willingness to serve Macon County. This is an eloquent speech, but Jack, and I appreciate you taking up your employees like that. Y'all ought to thank him and sending them out. I came on this board after this study was commissioned, and I've gone through it, and I've analyzed this thing, and I've looked at it, and I've got some problems with it. And when the gentleman, Mr. Anstino, came to do a presentation, I tried to get some questions in, it just got swept away in the conversation, and I couldn't get the questions to it. But being on this side of the, I used to sit where y'all did. I was a county employee for 10 years. That's been 16 years ago. And every time we'd have this promise of a raise, and I hate that they dangle that carrot to y'all, we'd have a promise of a raise, we wouldn't get it, I'd never vote for that county commissioner again. That's just the way it's done. I sat in those seats, all do, most of you are my friends, but that's not about friendship, there's nothing personal to do with this. I left the county for one simple reason, I wasn't making enough money. And I probably should be back in the county now, I'm probably making a lot less now than I was, but that's beside the point. I've got a couple of points I want to make. And the Springstead study, I think it's flawed because none of the 5 counties that border Macon County, Jack just said we had some going to Cherokee County. I don't know how many, why they're leaving, why they're going to Jackson County, but not one county that touches Macon County was used in the study. We had 4 counties, there's 9 counties surveyed, and of the 9 counties that were surveyed, 4 of them are on the other side of the state, or 3 of them. We've got Bladen, Person, and Craven. They're on the other side of the state, have nothing in common with our economy. 4 of the counties border Buncombe County, which is a metropolitan district, complete different economic situation than Macon County has, and the other 2 counties over 100 miles away. So this is not, Mr. Anzamino said this is a regional study. This is not a regional study. And why are government positions always compared to other government positions? Why not compare government positions to the private sector? None of that was done. Franklin was not used. Raven County was not used. And we're here, and we finally got some information on Jackson County. I want to see it. And then we talked to Kevin, I appreciate his point on the benefits. They were mentioned in this study, but they were not calculated into the compensation package. It was just a strictly salary number. And another thing I think should be done in any study is staffing levels. All of us in the private sector, and I represent you people as a county commissioner, you're taxpayers, you're buying the same $4 gallon diesel that I'm buying. The milk, we're all hurting in this economy. I represent you as a group collectively, but I represent every other taxpayer in Macon County. I used to have 7 employees, I've got 2. And I'm nothing personal in this, I don't care, that's what I chose to do. But we're all suffering through this recession, this extended recession that we're in, and I think personally we're going to be in it for a long time. We have not looked at downsizing any county departments, and I don't want to see any of y'all lose your jobs. I didn't want to see anybody in the private sector lose their jobs or houses or reduced incomes like a lot of us are living in. I don't want to see any of y'all lose your jobs, but to do an accurate study, you have to do a staffing level. We know there's some departments that are simply overstaffed. I don't mind paying fair compensation to any employee that's pumping it out there 100%, but if we've got a little extra weight there, I don't think it's fair to the taxpayers to ask us to compensate them anymore. And this proposed minimum level salary that you see in this study, and I've analyzed this thing as much as I can, and you all ought to get to look at it. It raises the minimum entry-level position for future employees on average of 20 to 30%, with some positions as high as 46%. In other words, if this is enacted, certain positions, if we hire to replace someone tomorrow in that position, we pay them 40% more on entry level now than what they're receiving. Now than what they were receiving last week. 20 to 30% average on entry level positions for Macon County. And I wanted to see a list, and I've got a list of the 181. I don't know how we wound up with just 181, but there's 2 key numbers that they've mentioned, is the 21% and the 55%. The 55% of county employees, and I really don't know how many county employees we got. I'm looking at numbers here, I get different numbers from everywhere. It's showing us 416. But 55% of county employees will receive, on average, a 10.17% salary increase if this payroll study is enacted. The 181. Now, some of you are going to get just a minimum. I wanted to see what the highest was, and I've not gotten that yet. But on average, 181, 55% of county employees receive 10.17% increase. If I go home, or if I see people at Lowe's or Ferguson's or Nanahala Lumber Company in the morning, and I've told them I voted to increase salaries in a recession, 10.17%, I'm going to have to fight my way out of those places. It's not practical. In my opinion, this is my personal opinion now, this board can vote however they want to, but I can't.
Let's do that. Call the question, Mr. Judge.
All the question.
I think discussion is appropriate.
I think it's pretty well got. Mr.
Chairman, if I could mention one thing, I think I've never mentioned it earlier, I'd like to share with you. We asked Springstead to also take a look at our staffing, do a staffing analysis. They didn't do it. They didn't do an in-depth staffing analysis. They took a look at the number of people we got, the amount of services that we provide, the number of people in those positions. Their bottom line is that we're pretty lean as far as our staffing. You know, there may be some departments, like Paul says, that they won't take a look at again. Depends on what they're doing, but their report, that's a small, short report that they did, just look at number of people we had compared to other counties. In the counties they compare it to, you have to look at more than just who's next door. You have to look at the county's tax base, you have to look at the services they provide, you have to look at the number of employees that they can provide those services and so forth. So, like I said early on, there's not a perfect study out there, never has been, never will be. This is the best we got from the people who are professionals who have paid through this. And I have confidence that they've done a good job, and I certainly hope that, and I respect the board no matter what decision you all make, but I certainly hope you'll get the vote consideration.
Would you recommend a 10% pay increase?
Well, I'll say this, people don't spend percentages, they spend dollars. If you take somebody who's making $10 an hour, and they get a 10% increase, they're getting $11 an hour. That's still not a whole lot of money.
No. And I'm sure there's a lot of people underpaid in the county, but a 10% increase in a recession.
Well, the reason for that, please, and I'll shut up. The reason for that is the whole pay plan has not been kept up to date for over 10 years. And so when you're trying to bring things up, you're not doing it in a 1-year thing. You're doing it you're looking at it over a 10-year period, at least a 10-year period. And so that's why we're so far behind. But I've made my case to the county employees. I respect the Board of County Commissioners and the decision that y'all have to make. We'll live with that, and we appreciate your consideration.
So, can Chairman discuss?
Chairman can discuss.
I would, I really can't disagree with what you said, Paul. I really don't. And I had a little problem with the selection of counties. I didn't think they should have included Jackson. I did look at those numbers. Personally, I know we didn't plug them into that study because we're not paying them to go back and redo the study. I think it's reasonable. But I personally did look at those, and I know that their pay is quite a bit higher than ours. So if you plug Jackson in, it's going to make it even higher. Also, if you plug in counties like Oconee County, South Carolina, Pickens County, South Carolina, those bordering counties, it's going to make it higher. I would agree with talk about the recession and all those things, and I would have a problem if we did the study and say we're going to bring it up to average, but because we're saying bring it up to the minimum, then I have no plans. Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-2. Thank you. Appreciate the vigorous debate. We can. We'll recess for 12 minutes.
It's going to be a storm, so it'll be. I mean, that's pretty much
We'll reconvene. Hope everybody had a good break. Let's see, the next item, we'll move to new business. Check. All right. Yeah, item number 10. Change order number 3 on Swiss Coffee. Is that right, Jack?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Basically, that's just to put in pressure reducing valves and determine that they were required. The good news is that this is all 100% grant funded. That costs the county money. We've got a letter authorization from the state saying that they'll cover the additional cost of $19,900. So we need to amend the contract by $19,900 in order to, so we put this $36,000.
How did they miss that?
You know, and I do.
Just point on record. He can ask, how did they miss that?
I just would ask him, Paul.
It was somebody on the engineering side of it didn't do a good enough hydrology report on it.
Who does the engineering?
That was from Gill Associates.
Real. Well,
No additional money.
No additional county, no county money involved in it, it's all state money.
they still have to do it.
Don't have to do it, otherwise it's gonna blow all the water pressure comes out, it's gonna blow all our spigots and toilets and everything out, so they gotta reduce the pressure.
We gotta do it.
We have a motion, we have a second.
How much more is that to contingency?
Not potentially, I haven't also, it's an additional appropriation from the state.
Oh, that's good. Second, okay,
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Next item, the consideration of a resolution to maintain and support the current integrity funding for Parks and Recreation Trust Fund. And Commissioner Tate asked you to put that out. Commissioner Tate.
The town of Highlands had asked me to put this before the county commissioners. It's been a very important funding pool for not only county projects, but especially the town of Highlands. They asked us for us to take this into consideration. I was a little hesitant about it at first because I was like, well, there's probably a reason that our state government is doing this. There's a reason that they're trying to move our tax dollars around. But after doing a little bit of research on it, it comes to find out this doesn't come from our general income tax dollars. This comes from a property, that company has properties.
Documentary fee for Richard, Goose, and the rest of these officers.
Stamp fees, that's where 100% of this money comes from. And Jack, please help me out with the history on this, but my understanding is that several years ago, the state implemented another big stamp tax on
It
this.
costs $1 per thousand to whatever the sales price on a piece of property was. It was $1 per thousand for documentary stamps to go on that deed, to give an indication of what the property value was. It changed hands. There was some talk in the state at that time about a land transfer fee, and that kind of got shot down. But the state's on, and the state seized on the idea that it was a way to generate money, and so they doubled that from $1 per thousand to $2 per thousand, and the state kept the other dollar. And the purpose of that, by their own words, was to generate money for parks and recreation statewide. And so that's what it's supposed to be used for. The proposal, I think, was to take some of that money and use it for other general fund needs in the state government instead of what it was originally approved for use. And so there's a lot of opposition from both political parties and a lot of people across the state for them to maintain that system of using, if they're going to charge it extra for the documentary stamp, use it for what it was intended to be used for. And so I think there's a lot of pressure for the governor and other folks to take a look at that. We did have a chance to get some comments back from our regional recreation specialist, and she says that she's hearing a lot of feedback from across the state, said that there's growing support for doing the same things that you have in the resolution that you put forward.
And Jack, I've talked to people in Raleigh, and just felt like you've talked to a lot of Republicans down there that are not. But there's not much support for changing that, because they're not talking about reducing the fee, they're talking about just shuffling the money around. And frankly, if you talk to our Western representatives, i.e. Senator Davis and West, they will tell you that a disproportionate amount of money is going to Piedmont and Eastern counties as opposed to West metropolitan counties. And we do have an opportunity.
And we have those numbers.
Yes, so
we would be wise to support this.
Well, the reasoning is nothing, but the governor wants to pool the money. If you don't know about the Golden Leaf Fund and some other funds, you want to pool this money, and then you can make applications to draw the money out. Well, let's do the math. 20 counties have more legislators than other counties combined. Where's the money going to go to? So we really, on the part of the grants and some of the Golden Leaf, it's really benefited. The rural center money is also being pooled into that same pool. So, and I think Kevin's right. I think those, especially these rural county legislators that
They're very much against.
and they're coming out, and we're glad we support that 100%.
So back to the thought, my thoughts on it are that if they created this deed stamp tax for this purpose, then leave it there. If they're gonna redirect the funds, then get rid of the deed stamp tax. So we all support it.
Resolution sounds great. I'd make a motion, we adopt the resolution presented by Commissioner Pate and move it on to our other counties and to our legislators.
Second by Commissioner Tate. Any discussion about the resolution for the Parks and Recreation?
I'm on this Parks and Recreation grant fund right now. I read where Patrick Corey is introducing you to cut that 44%.
That's correct.
That's what we just talked about.
But not to reduce the fee that goes toward it, just to put that in a fund, which what would wind up happening, the money's still gonna be there, it's just gonna wind up going to
I think over 60% of it is already directed towards state parks. So I don't know how many we have in Macon County, but I haven't seen one lately.
I haven't exactly heard of it. 65% goes to state parks, 30% for local government, 5% for pistol license.
now.
Discussion, you through, Mr. Taylor? No, I just, this is a complex thing for me, and I don't study politics like some people, do, but I think that's not the state, do what they want to do down there. I don't think we'll be trying to guide them on how to cut. They're gonna have to cut something to get the budget, but then.
The only thing about that we might do is they're not talking about cutting anything, they're just talking about redirecting it, it's gonna make it tougher for western and rural counties to get to access that money, is my problem.
This is not a cut.
Why don't we just come in that resolution, ask them to stop tagging us for the money?
They're not tagging you for the money. It's on revenue.
100% comes from, these stamp taxes.
Yeah, but we're paying these stamp taxes here in town.
If you buy property.
Yeah, if you buy a property.
And there's some offshore money in there too. There's this offshore money when people get a lot of it.
Maybe that's what he's going to try to do, he's trying to get offshore money. And he keeps talking about natural resources up there. I don't know, folks, I'm kind of like that. I'd like to cut into what we can. There's too much tax.
We all agree, that's not what this is.
What they do when they're taking the money that you generate your register deeds office, and the state's keeping it,
They're
spending
gonna do
somewhere
something else
else.
with it. That's
What
what
they're doing.
the resolution.
And they're
I'm
one.
sort of like him, trying to see.
And the only way you've got to get any of that money back is through a Parks and Recreation Trust Fund grant, if you're lucky enough to get one. Otherwise, you get nothing back for your money.
That's our only shot. But I think that, I don't think we have nothing to worry about, but I think it's well written, and I think it's our thing.
Folks I've talked to, they're probably not going to change it. They'll probably leave it alone anyway. I think
They also said the resolution would not be perfect, it would be helpful.
we have motion and second. Any other discussion on the motion? All in favor of supporting the resolution, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. The next item is change order number 1 on the Macon County Dental Clinic finance director. Lori.
I'll defer to Tom or somebody else.
Okay.
Don't blame the finish.
I just turned the agenda out.
Change order number
They moved in.
stood in front of you a couple months back, and the health department had given us a dollar value of $89,000 and change or something like that for the interior improvements at 108 Macon Drive to the new At that time, we had some concerns that we were right at the dollar value that the county had, or that the health department had to spend. So we deliberately self-imposed, created a contingency. There were 5 windows planned to go into the 4 treatment rooms and 1 into an end of a hallway that was brought to natural light. Prior to doing any demolition testing, we weren't sure whether or not those windows could go in because of the pre-engineered building with cross bracing and things like that. So we had, at that time, decided to, number 1, take out the permit fees of the health department to fund in another manner, as well as take out the dollar value for those 5 windows. Well, that gave us a contingency of about $4,500. Right in the budget, we got $4,500. While we're in the process of the items that you see on the change order, we were concerned that we got some information from the dental company that in those treatment rooms, when we put down just an 8-inch thick vinyl composition tile, the dentist himself, back across that. We're in an existing building where we're taking a trench. We're filling that trench back into the concrete. That he'd be feeling that every time, every patient, 5 or 6 times. So what we, with recommendations from some of the flooring people, we had decided to upgrade the flooring in those 4 treatment rooms, specifically to be able to cross those trenches. We ran into some conduits that can be used for future IT connections that were by others, and others ended up being no one. We needed to leave ourselves that capability for future connections. We had the electrician put in those conduits. There was an item on there that our local fire marshal is requiring a Knox box for access into the building. It is something that the town of Franklin is enforcing because of their fire rating, their fire classification. It includes their fire classification, so they're enforcing that requirement in each and every development or even every tenant improvement in the town of Franklin. We fall under that category. We had a couple of items. You see a number on there for a channel. We've got 9-foot high partitions in a 12-foot space. We created, just with some found molding, for lack of a better phrase, for a raceway channel that will allow them to go up and around and run all their IT cabling in spaces that will be concealed without having to drill through partitions and things like that. So that's what those pieces are for. We had 2 things that we accredited. I don't have a change order in front of me. One of them I know is for an exhaust fan that we determined that we did not need because it was an open space, so we got a credit for that. And deduction for the 40-gallon water heater. The original specifications from the demo company was if memory serves, it was 100 gallons, which was way oversized for what we had here. We decided that we wanted to elevate that in our equipment room, that it gives a little bit more floor space. But you don't elevate a 100-gallon water heater, just to get full floor space. We determined that it will not hurt us in the weeks to drop it to 40 gallons, which we could elevate clear up a little bit more floor space. Total of this was $3,300. I'm sorry, 33? 3153. Well within the $4,500 contingency, which is exactly why we created that contingency. Referencing those windows, our ideal would have been to be able to put those windows in. 4 of the 5 windows could not have gone in because of cross bracing. So 1 window that was left that could have gone in was probably in the least desirable place of all. They weren't looking at anything. They were just getting some natural light into the treatment rooms. Unfortunately, with cross bracing that's in there, it was not worth reframing the entire existing building.
Will you confirm that continues to
So you're saying it's $1,400?
One change over on close out, we do have a certificate of occupancy.
We have a CO that he is completed, a bunch of those items are done, and it's ready, it's been turned over.
This is no extra money.
Motion to approve the change order.
Whole thing's in the budget.
Yeah, it's all under budget, Medicaid over.
Motion, so a second. David, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That
Passes. Thank
Good
you,
job,
Tom.
everybody's worked on it.
Very good. Thank you, Tom.
He has to move stuff in.
We have the new fees at Macon Public Health Center. Director Brunner, I don't think he's here.
He's not here, he is ill,
He's
so
sick, isn't he?
he's asked me to stand in for him.
We're glad you're here.
We have two fees that were approved and discussed in our last Board of Health meeting on March the 25th. I don't know how much information you all have about this. So the first one is for a bile acids test, and that's ordered by one of our contract physicians in our prenatal maternal health clinic. And so our proposed fee for that is $32.50, and that includes a $20 portion to cover the administrative cost of conducting that test. And then the second one is, if anybody can say this, electrophoretic separation and quantification with HR refractionation test.
What is that?
I have no idea. It's a test that was ordered by an outside physician, and when the patient came in to get it, rather than telling that patient, no, we can't do it, you need to go somewhere else to do it, we're trying to get this into our food plan. I don't think it's a test that's going to be ordered very often, and I don't really know what that test's for. It requires two separate billing codes. One of those codes is already in our fee plan. The second code is not, and so we're proposing a fee for that at $42, and that also includes an administrative cost.
So these were just two fees that were not included in the fees we approved.
Not included in those, and so we need to add to the fee plan
And this was approved by the health.
on the 25th of March.
Motion approved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Higgins, second by Tate, to approve those two fees as presented. Noting that those were approved by the health board. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. The next item is our consent agenda. Gentlemen, you had that presented to you. It does include the minutes of the March 12th and the April 4th minutes. Is that correct, Mr. Decker? It does include budget amendments 148, 149, 150, and 151, Lori. Tax refund, tax releases, monthly annual tax report. And these are items that normally don't require a lot of discussion. If anybody wants to pull one of those items out, please say so, and we'll remove it. And if not, the motion to approve all those will be in order.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented with the noted changes. Any discussion?
Can I just say one thing about somebody in the department, really, that the reports really help me keep up with the budgets, get prepared, and that's Alan, who helped Ms. Foster put those reports together. I'm sure you got a hand in that too. But those are very helpful, and you can read them and understand them. So somebody needs to
We
tell.
send those out, we
Well,
wonder sometimes.
they're very helpful. Well, Jackie, have you looked at them? How much, they're so, you never had this good. Even
know what's going on.
Any other, very good, any other discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. The next item, gentlemen, we have some appointments. I think you were given a list of these in advance, and I think what we're dealing with both of these, we have folks who are Board of Adjustment and the Community Funding Pool who are coming up, and there's been no applications. And according to our policy, if that's the case, we can reappoint the current people, given that they're willing to serve. Have we asked if they're willing to serve?
the community funding pool, I can answer yes.
And how to Wallace and Ben Swayze.
Yeah, and I'm sure Ben, I know Charles Dunn will, Byron will, and talk to Ben.
Knowing these folks, my recommendation would be to reappoint these people to these boards and thank them for their willingness to serve. We have motion and second to reappoint Byron McClure, Ben Swaffer, and Charles Dunn to the Board of Adjustment, to reappoint Ann Hyder, Karen Wallace, and Ben West. Any
any discussion or other nominations for the commission?
All these folks do a great job, but if you use the board, you'll find out this community fund those folks really helps us out a whole lot of this board. It takes a lot of heat off the board, so we're good.
Rather than people come to us all year long asking.
They do a great job.
They do. They attended some meetings. Any other discussion about these nominations? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. We do have a request for a closed session by Commissioner Tate. I do not, do you anticipate any action? No action is anticipated. If we do, we'll certainly make that part of minutes and let you guys.
Just one quick announcement, I'll be quiet, but we'll let everybody know that work has begun on the dialysis center, full report. The demo is, we got it gutted out and cutting the floors, and so progress is happening, fine.
And let me go ahead and re-announce, we do plan on meeting Friday night, this Friday night, 6 p.m. Continuation of this meeting, Chester, correct? We're also going to meet on Thursday, April 18th. That'll be a meeting with the Macon County Board of Education. And then we're going to also meet Tuesday, April the 23rd, Town of Franklin, Town of Hines. Discuss the location of meeting. That's Florida, okay.
April 23rd?
April 23rd.
Have you decided where that meeting's gonna be yet?
Boiler.
Boiler room?
April 23rd, what is that, 6?
6.
All right, and then 18.
18 is 6 p.m.
Is that the bank?
Macon Bank. And, yeah, let me make a suggestion, and just if you didn't take a bathroom break this time, it's time to go. I'm kidding. We might need to move our May meeting if you choose to. I know for a fact I'm going to be out of town the 14th. I discussed it with Jack. We are meeting Friday. We're meeting again the next Thursday. We're meeting again the next Tuesday. So we're meeting at least 4 times this month. So my suggestion, and Chester and I disagree about it, I probably don't think we're going to disagree about it. I did check with the school government, and they said if we announce that we're going to reschedule a regular meeting, that we can do that, but that'd be up to you guys. If we did that, I talked to Jack, looked at the calendar, and I would suggest that we move our May meeting to the 21st of the month. But that'd be up to you guys. I can't make that decision. You guys are making it. And that also gives Jack another week.
The other one is 2 o'clock arrival in Raleigh.
And I had mentioned to Commissioner Tate about sometime having a meeting in Highlands just for the fact that 40% of our tax base is up there, and the Board of Commissioners never meets in Highlands, never has been in Highlands. Just a few for all. So I thought it might be a nice gesture for those folks to have one of our meetings.
Since we're going to change it, you wouldn't consider that on the 20th, would you?
Yeah, we got a meeting in Highland on the 23rd p.m.
What is that conference?
GOTD.
I would tell you what that stands for, ladies present.
Hey, yeah.
Go ahead, you can handle it.
That's April.
That's right, I'm sorry. I lost my
We're not meeting our normal time of year,
I'm just
You're
recommending.
talking about for May?
And if we need to do that, Chester, I'm fine with that. I'm just telling you that
You can take action on that, I guess. Anytime we don't have 3 more meetings.
Can you lift the 20th on the, would that hurt anybody on Monday, the 20th to the 21st? I hate to be a pain. It just, I mean, that's just pushing to get Raleigh at 2 o'clock in the morning, that's the only thing.
And we can, I mentioned that for discussion, this, something like that, so we can decide that.
That's a Monday, right? Monday's fine with us.
We'll tentatively plan that, and I'll discuss with Chester whether we need to get gavel in and gavel out. We will, go ahead and announce it, we'll be meeting 20 in Hines.
So just 3 of us need to be here on the 14th, if somebody has to be gone.
That's right.
Appreciate you.
We're meeting the 14th too.
I don't, well, that'll be determined in the next 4 or 5 minutes.
Hey, we're writing up and down.
Yeah.
I always think.
All right.
Motion.
Jim, we need a motion yesterday. Second. Also,
For the purposes of the